and indicate so. Matters raised with permission, Dr. John Britas demand to assist Kerala in rehabilitating the landslide victims in Wayanad district.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I plead your indulgence to get justice for Kerala. Sir, for us, you are our de facto ambassador. We consider you like that, sir. Sir, Wayanad calamity is the test case to prove the status of center-state relations in this country. Madam, you are listening to it. Further, it underscores the gross neglect and discrimination.
Dr. John Britas, Madam, you are listening will be deleted.
Yes.
Because the Honorable Finance Minister has always been very alert. Am I right?
She has been super alert to Kerala, sir. Yeah. She has been super alert.
Yes.
Sir, further it underscores the gross neglect and discrimination that the Union shows to an opposition-ruled state. Sir, when Kerala was struck with the worst natural calamity, you and the House were magnanimous enough to express solidarity with Kerala. Though the responses from a couple of powerful Union ministers were not very positive, we were optimistic as the Prime Minister visited the ravaged areas of Wayanad and also interacted with the people in distress. So the pictures that emanated out of the visit made our hearts brimming with emotions and certainly hopes, sir. Who can forget the picture wherein one of the victims, a child sitting on the lap of the Prime Minister, forgetting her trauma, stroking the neatly trimmed white beard of our Honorable Prime Minister. Sir, now I stand with a heavy heart that even after 8 months, Kerala is still awaiting the help of Union government for relief and rehabilitation. The challenge is huge for state governments, sir. We have to spend almost 3,000 crores to rebuild roads, bridges, power infrastructure, schools, hospitals, and certainly the houses. Only when the Kerala High Court made scathing remarks, Centre electorally declared landslide as a calamity of severe nature, but didn't extend its help, sir. Initially, the Union even wanted the state to pay for the bills for the rescue operations. Sir, after inordinate delay, the Government of India sanctioned a loan of 529 crores, but with certain impractical conditions, sir. And we, of course, expected the government to be little more magnanimous. Sir, only after the High Court made scathing remarks, the government has come forward to extend. But we have not seen any tangible effect in that justice, sir. We expected the Union government to at least declare something, some relief for Kerala in the budget. Now the Honorable Finance Minister is very keen about Nokuguli of Kerala. But I would urge upon the government to extend all possible help for the rehabilitation of Wayanad victims, sir. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, judges, while imparting judgments, give observations or directions. There is nothing scathing about it. And I am very committed that doctrine of separation of powers is categorical. Executive governance has to be only through executive. And for a simple reason, executive is accountable to legislature and executive is accountable to the electorate in elections. And therefore the governance issues must be confined only to executive governance, be state government or the central government. Number two, on this aspect, I will especially plead with you to go through an address by Jairam Ramesh, which I had indicated at that time also. It's a lengthy one, very rational, on disaster management mechanism in the country. And our country in disaster management is perhaps in big league of nations that provides for funds well in advance, even before the disaster has befallen. And that issue should never be taken up on emotive aspect. One second. I say so, not commenting on what you have said, but I had said so repeatedly because when there was calamity in two states, divergent views were taken. On one, the view was taken, why are we discussing it's a state subject? And secondly, the view was taken with respect to this district, why are we not discussing it's national? So we need to have consensus on certain issues where the field is totally covered by law. Professor Ram Gopal Yadav, very important issue is raising, demand to increase the amount of MP-led funds to 20 crores per year.
सर, आपकी असीम कृपा से मुझे ये अनुमति मिली है। सर, सभी संसद सदस्यों के सामने बड़ा संकट है और खास तौर से जो लोकसभा के लोग हैं उनमें 1/3 एमपी सिर्फ एमपी लेट्स की वजह से चुनाव हार जाते हैं। इसलिए क्योंकि लोग ये समझते हैं कि पता नहीं एमपी को कितना पैसा मिलता है और एक प्रधान आता है 10 करोड़ का काम दे जाता है। रोजाना 100-200 लोग एमपीज के खिलाफ हो जाते हैं। जब एमपी लेट शुरू हुआ था तब 1 किलोमीटर सीसी रोड 3.5 मीटर चौड़ी 13 लाख में बनती थी, अब 1 करोड़ 10 लाख में बन रही। हैंडपंप 15,000 में लगता था, एसवी सिंह जी ने बहुत लगवाए, अब 85,000 में लग रहा है फिरोजाबाद, इटावा, मैनपुरी। ये स्थिति है कि उत्तर प्रदेश में एमएलए का फंड है, निधि जो है वो है 5 करोड़, दिल्ली में 10 करोड़, केरला में भी 5 करोड़ है, आप बेटा बता रहे हैं 7 करोड़ है। उत्तर प्रदेश में एक लोकसभा क्षेत्र में 5 असेंबली सेगमेंट हैं, 3 में 6 हैं, फतेहपुर, शाहजहांपुर और उन्नाव में, और सब में 5-5 है। वहां तो एक लोकसभा क्षेत्र में 25 करोड़ से लेके 30 करोड़ तक है। एमपी एमएलए का सब मिला दिया जाए, एमपी का 5 करोड़ है। तो सबसे बड़ी, और 5 करोड़ में भी एक दिक्कत और है सर, माननीय वित्त मंत्री बैठी हुई है, उसमें 18% जीएसटी, तो 4 करोड़ 10 लाख बचा। एक एमपी उत्तर प्रदेश की मैं बात कर रहा हूं, एक असेंबली सेगमेंट में 1 किलोमीटर सड़क 1 साल में नहीं बनवा सकता। दिस इज द प्रॉब्लम, सबके सामने समस्या है। तो इसलिए मैं ये कहना, और दूसरी बात ये है कि दिल्ली से जाने वाले पैसे को लोग ये समझते हैं कि ये तो फ्री का है, मन चाहा एस्टीमेट बना देते हैं। अगर हम खुद एक पानी की टंकी लें और नल सबमर्सिबल लगाएं तो 1 लाख में बन जाएगी 1000 लीटर, और वही सरकार जब बनाएगी हमारी निधि से तो 5 लाख में बनेगी। तो कोई भी मॉनिटरिंग सिस्टम नहीं। एक टेक्निकल सेल हुआ करती थी पहले, टेक्निकल सेल, जिसको काम सौंप दिया जाए तो सब ठीक होता था। समय नहीं है, मैं सिर्फ 3 सुझाव देना चाहता हूं कि इस निधि को बढ़ाकर 20 करोड़ प्रतिवर्ष किया जाए, जीएसटी से इसको मुक्त रखा जाए, और एस्टीमेट और क्वालिटी की जांच के लिए टेक्निकल सेल बनाई जाए, और अगर ये संभव नहीं है तो सांसद निधि खत्म कर दीजिए।
एक सेकंड। Members have associated. I'm so happy members have associated either to increase or get rid of it. Honorable members, one second. Honorable members, I am reminded of Constituent Assembly debates where one of the distinguished members, Mr. Sidhwa, he was reflecting on power of parliament to remove the judges. And he said, it is very good to arrogate power without examining other elements. But trust me, he reflected, the number of judges will grow. We will not be able to fructify even one. On placatory mechanisms, on appeasement, which is often known as freebies, this House needs to deliberate. I will be open to a structured discussion after consulting Leader of the House and Leader of the Opposition, because the country grows only with capex being available. Electoral process is such that these have become electoral allurements, and thereafter the governments that came in saddle found themselves very uncomfortable, so uncomfortable that they wanted to revisit their thoughts. There is urgent need for a national policy so that all investments of the government in any form are used in a structured manner for larger good. And therefore, the second part of the suggestion of a very experienced member is also very critical. If the leaders will agree, I'll call them in my chamber, deliberate. This is a very serious issue. Another issue is that our Constitution provided for legislature, MPs, MLAs, but did not have uniform mechanism. So you'll find legislatures in several states give perks and salaries to members of the assembly, much beyond members of parliament. And even the pension variation for a former member of the assembly is on a scale of 1:10. If in one state one is getting 1 rupee, in the other state the pension will be 10 times. And therefore, since these are the issues where legislation can deal with the issue, and it will help the politician, it will help the government, it will help the executive, and it will also ensure high quality of investment. Otherwise, as Professor Dr. Ram Gopal Yadav said, nobody checks, inflated. And the second aspect is, and the second aspect which we can club is subsidies. Subsidies, if required in areas like farm sector, should be direct. And that is the practice in developed countries. I checked up with the US mechanism. US has 1/5 of farm households as our country. But average income of US farm household is more than the general income of US household. And that is because the subsidy to the farmer is direct, transparent, without intermediary. We will discuss these subject to Leader of the House and Leader of the Opposition making so suggestion. Shri Vaiko.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, sir. For the past 40 years, 843 fishermen have been attacked and killed by the Sri Lankan Navy. On January 25th, within 45 days, on January 25th, 34 fishermen in 3 fishing boats from Rameswaram were arrested by the Sri Lankan Navy on charges of fishing across the border and were imprisoned in Jaffna. They were produced before the Kilinochchi court and fined lakhs of rupees. Those who could not pay the fines have been re-imprisoned by the Sri Lankan government. On 2nd February 25, more than 1,000 fishermen went to sea in numerous fishing boats. Among them, 10 fishermen from Tangachimadam were fishing a fishing boat of the Gulf of Mannar when the Sri Lankan Navy arrested them and confiscated the fishing boat. On February 19th, the Sri Lankan Navy again arrested 42 fishermen for crossing the border and imprisoned them. 8 boats were also confiscated. I would demand action should be taken to stop the inhuman actions of Sri Lankan Navy, which wants to destroy our fishing industry. So what for our Navy is sitting like a lamb duck in the ocean? What for? We are also taxpayers to the Indian government. Yes. The Tamil fishermen are the orphans. Are the orphans of the world. Every 40 years, 843 fishermen have been killed by the Sri Lankan Navy. And our Honorable Finance Minister also spends her time, meets them. Mr. Jaishankar meets them. For what purpose our Prime Minister is going to Sri Lanka? To express condolences to the Sri Lankan government and the Navy. What for he is going? Every day, no day passes without any attack. Even today in Rameswaram, Thangachimadam, thousands and thousands of fisher women and men are struggling and they are demanding justice from the government of India. Our Chief Minister, Mr. Stalin, has met the Prime Minister and he has met the External Affairs Minister and wrote several letters. But all are going to the dustbin. This is the way in which the Delhi government, the central government, is treating the people of Tamil Nadu, the citizens of India, fishermen. And hereafter at least, you don't go there. You call them here. Unless you stop this, whether any one time the Indian Navy fired any single shot when they came in, they never cared for them. The Sri Lankan Indian Navy people are collaborating with the Sri Lankan Navy officials. This is going on. Therefore, in whole of Tamil Nadu, we feel we have become totally orphaned by the treatment of the Indian government. I am so thankful you did.
Thank you, Mr. Vaiko. Madam, please.
Senior member Vaiko speaks a lot with emotion, and we are sympathetic and we understand his concern. But just that one line, which I think he said with anger, should be reconsidered. It's not right. Indian Navy collaborates with the Sri Lankan Navy to harass our fishermen. Please. We will make all efforts. In fact, I'll take this opportunity to remind this August House that in 2014, this is a response to 0 hour. Whichever member said that, I would submit to you. In 2014, sir, it was Honorable Prime Minister who directly spoke to the Sri Lankan government on resumption of office here, on becoming the Prime Minister, and brought those fishermen who were sent to the gallows by the Sri Lankan courts and the Sri Lankan government were brought back alive to India by the efforts made by the Prime Minister, who had just then become Prime Minister. And therefore, let it be sure here that there is no effort left out without trying to help our fishermen. Every time there is a crisis, the Foreign Affairs, External Affairs Minister and the Prime Minister himself. I fully recognize the concern of Vaiko, but on this one line, I would seek the chairs, to remove that line. That's not done.
Yes, it will be removed. अपनी सेना के संबंध में किसी तरह की इस तरह की टिप्पणी सही नहीं है. बड़े सीनियर सदस्य मिस्टर वाइको. Please, Sri Raiga Krishnaiya, concern over challenges faced by Kendriya Vidyalaya and Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya. Mr. Raiga Krishnaiya.
Respected Chairman, in Kendriya Vishwavidyalaya, large number of teaching vacancies are there. So far, some of them are appointed on contract and outsourcing basis. I request the government to appoint on regular basis, because Kendriya Vidyalaya also allowed 10 members admissions to MPs. Recently, it was removed. I request the government restore the same to the MPs, as because number of public relations persons are there. Some genuine students, orphans, disabled, and like that, so many members. are there, they are not giving admissions. So, restore the 10 members per Kendriya Vishwavidyalaya, Kendriya schools. At the same time, in central universities, there is no large number of vacancies are there. But more particularly, Hyderabad Central University, the university land is much enough. So there should be a research center should be established, and that university should be extended in multi-faculty. So I request the government, the Central University of Hyderabad should be extended and open more research centers, more particularly engineering, and there is no engineering faculty. There is science, there is limited science faculty.
रायगा जी, आपका विषय है कंसर्न ओवर चैलेंजेस फेस्ड बाय केंद्रीय विद्यालय एंड जवाहर नवोदय विद्यालय, नॉट हैदराबाद विश्वविद्यालय. Please speak on the subject.
Jawahar Vidyalaya also, there is no permanent regular staff. I request the government, yes, in Andhra Pradesh, the 13 districts were divided to 26 districts. But extra districts, those who formed recently, the districts were not sanctioned Jawahar Vidyalaya, Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya. So I request the government to establish, sanction the 13 Navodaya, Jawahar Navodaya schools to newly formed districts.
Thank you. Shri Manas Ranjan Mangraj ji, demand for measures to regulate fishing activities in Chilka Lake.
Honorable Deputy Chairman, sir, I rise today to draw the urgent attention of this House to the alarming issue of illegal fishing in Chilka Lake. As Asia's largest brackish water lagoon, Chilka is a unique ecosystem where fresh water from rivers and saline water from the sea come together, creating a dynamic habitat for a diverse range of fish species. Many of these species, including khanga, crab, undal and prawns, are seasonal migrants that play a crucial role in maintaining ecological balance. Sir, however, illegal and indiscriminate fishing by certain groups, including non-local fishermen, is severely threatening this delicate ecosystem. These groups engage in large-scale fishing indiscriminately, catching fish eggs and juvenile species, which disrupts the natural breeding cycle. Additionally, illegal prawn farming in the lake is causing serious damage, degrading water quality and leading to the decline of native fish populations. The renowned khanga fish, a world-famous delicacy from Chilka, is now at risk due to over-exploitation. Honorable Deputy Chairman, sir, it is our duty to safeguard this natural treasure. I urge the government to take strict measures to regulate fishing activities, enforce bans on illegal prawn farming, and ensure that local traditional fishermen are not displaced. Immediate action is needed to curb illegal fishing and protect Chilka's rich biodiversity for future generations. I request the concerned ministry to intervene at the earliest and implement the necessary conservation policies. Thank you.
Thank you. माननीय श्री नरेश बंसल जी, कंसर्न ओवर राइजिंग प्रॉब्लम्स ऑफ इन्फिल्ट्रेशन इन इंडिया.
धन्यवाद उपसभापति जी, आपने मुझे देश के सम्मुख प्रस्तुत एक बहुत ही सीरियस विषय पर विचार रखने के लिए मौका दिया है. भारत से लगती हुई अलग अलग देशों की सीमा पर प्रहरियों से बचते हुए विभिन्न खुफिया मार्गों से हजारों की संख्या में रोहिंग्या मुसलमान और अन्य घुसपैठिए भारत के अंदरूनी हिस्सों का रुख कर चुके हैं और कर रहे हैं. आदरणीय प्रधान सेवक नरेंद्र भाई मोदी जी के मार्गदर्शन और गृह मंत्री श्री अमित शाह जी के कुशल नेतृत्व में इन्हें रोकने के लिए काफ़ी सख्ती बरती जा रही है. अलग अलग जगहों पर गिरफ्तारियां भी होती रहती हैं, फिर भी सुरक्षा के लिए खतरा माने जाने वाले रोहिंग्या व अन्य घुसपैठिए उत्तर पूर्व से बंगाल, असम, झारखंड, बिहार, उत्तराखंड और उत्तर प्रदेश होते हुए नेपाल सीमा तक पहुंच रहे हैं. यही नहीं, बंगाल से ट्रेन के माध्यम से देश की राजधानी दिल्ली और फिर वहां से पाकिस्तान की सीमा से सटे संवेदनशील जम्मू कश्मीर तक डेरा डाल चुके हैं। उत्तराखंड और इससे सटी नेपाल सीमा पर बसे रोहिंग्या बिहार और उत्तर प्रदेश की सीमा से होते हुए पश्चिम नेपाल तक पहुंच गए, जहां से उन्हें इस्लामिक संघ नेपाल जैसे जिहादी गुटों से फाइनेंस मिल रहा है। पीएफआई जैसे संगठन भारत में इनके मददगार हैं। रोहिंग्या व अन्य घुसपैठियों के अवैध रूप से भारत में प्रवेश के बाद विभिन्न राज्यों में उनके सुरक्षित ठिकानों, मददगारों और दूर के राज्यों तक पहुंचाने के मार्ग में माध्यमों की पड़ताल गहनता से करनी होगी व ठोस कार्रवाई की आवश्यकता है। भारत में अपनी गहरी जड़ें जमा चुके रोहिंग्या मुसलमान और अन्य घुसपैठिए यहाँ के जरूरी दस्तावेज भी हासिल कर लेते हैं। हर दस्तावेज के लिए ऐसा सुनने में आता है कि कीमत भी तय है। शुरुआत फर्जी निर्वाचन कार्ड बनाने से होती है। दलालों के माध्यम से 3-4 हज़ार रुपए में इन्हें फर्जी प्रमाण पत्र मिल जाते हैं। आज के समाचार पत्र में यहाँ तक छपा है कि कॉरपोरेट ऑफिस के रूप में इस प्रकार के दलाल काम कर रहे हैं, जो इनको पूरी सहायता देते हैं सीमा पर। कुछ पकड़े गए घुसपैठियों से मिली जानकारी के मुताबिक निर्वाचन कार्ड के लिए 5,000 रुपए, राशन कार्ड के लिए 10,000 रुपए, आधार कार्ड के लिए 25,000 रुपए, पासपोर्ट के लिए 1 लाख रुपए तथा नेपाल पहुंचाने के लिए इनको रुपए देने पड़ते हैं। उत्तर प्रदेश के रायबरेली में फर्जी जन्म प्रमाण पत्र बनाने के मामले में नए खुलासे हाल ही में हुए हैं। अतः सदन के माध्यम से मैं सरकार से मांग करता हूं कि इस पर ठोस कार्रवाई करते हुए जो लोग घुसपैठियों को भारत ला रहे हैं उनके नेटवर्क को ध्वस्त किया जाए, उनको कागजात यहाँ के रहने के प्रमाण पत्र दे रहे हैं उनको गिरफ्तार किया जाए, उनके ऊपर कार्रवाई की जाए। यहाँ तक महोदय कि शाह इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ न्यूक्लियर फिजिक्स के पास तक ये पहुँच गए हैं। विधान निगम।
धन्यवाद माननीय नरेश जी। माननीय श्री पी विल्सन, डिमांड फॉर होलिस्टिक अप्रोच टुवर्ड्स डिलिमिटेशन ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसीज for the Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies.
Thank you, Deputy Chairman, sir. This is about impending danger of delimitation in the year 2026, as set out in the Constitution. Delimitation was conducted after each census in the years 1952, 62, 72 to ensure fair representation of all states. However, a significant disparity appeared. While some states embraced family planning policies, others ignored the issue, allowing their populations to grow unchecked, and therefore to address this inequality, the 42nd Constitutional Amendment frees delimitation based on 1971 census data for 25 years, thereby safeguarding states that manage their population from losing political influence. The freeze on population growth was extended through the 84th Constitutional Amendment following the recommendation of the National Population Policy in the year 2000, which expected stabilization of population growth across all states by 2026. The Constitutional Amendment aimed to provide motivation for states to actively pursue the goal of population stabilization. In May 2000, the National Population Commission was established, chaired by the Honorable Prime Minister, to implement national population policy to achieve population stabilization. However, for the last 10 years, the National Population Commission has become defunct, leading to a significant failure in the mandate for uniform population stabilization. Data shows that the states like Tamil Nadu have a total fertility rate of 1.7 and Kerala has TFR of 1.8, indicating that these states have successfully stabilized their population. In contrast, UP has a TFR of 2.4, Bihar has a TFR 3.0, which means that these states continue to experience exponential population growth. This suggests that the original reasoning for lifting the freeze in 2026 is no longer valid. Implementing delimitation at this point would unfairly penalize states that have successfully managed by the populations while rewarding those that have not. The consequence could be disastrous for states like Tamil Nadu and others that have effectively controlled their population. If Parliament's strength is increased based on 2026 census, states like Rajasthan, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh are projected to gain more than 150 additional seats collectively. In contrast, southern states, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana will gain only 35 seats collectively. If the current 543 seats are retained and redistributed based on 2026 census, Tamil Nadu will lose 8 seats, while Uttar Pradesh and Bihar will gain 21 seats collectively. States that have effectively implemented the national family planning policy will face penalties which will result in a loss of political representation and bargaining power. This shift will favor states that have not adhered to the national family policy planning. Why, Chairman sir, why should we forfeit our rightful representation and political leverage? Why are the states that neglected family planning being rewarded with increased representation? This is nothing short of a political coup against those states that have remained committed to our national vision. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Thiru M.K. Stalin has rightfully raised alarm about this impending justice and has called for a meeting on 22nd of this Saturday. If the Constitution is not amended before 2026 to extend the freezing, the delimitation will kick in and automatically be done from 2026 onwards. I urge the Honourable Prime Minister through the Honourable Chairman to address the issue and House and to clarify the government stance and propose measures to protect.
Thank you. Mania Srimati Renuka Chaudhary, issue for rise in gold loans and financial distress amongst women, not present. Mania Sri Brijlal, demand to convert बांसी रेलवे स्टेशन इनटू ए जंक्शन एंड एक्सटेंड द रेलवे अप टू कपिलवस्तु उत्तर प्रदेश।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद डिप्टी चेयरमैन साहब। मेरी मांग है भगवान बुद्ध की जन्मस्थली कपिलवस्तु को बांसी जो वहां से नई रेलवे लाइन गुजर रही है उसको जोड़ने के संबंध में। उपसभापति महोदय, कपिलवस्तु भगवान बुद्ध की जन्मस्थली है। 1972 में वहाँ आर्कोलॉजिकल सर्वे ऑफ इंडिया ने वहाँ पर खुदाई की और उसमें महाराजा सुद्धोधन का महल निकला और साथ ही साथ वहाँ पर भगवान बुद्ध का एक वहाँ पर अस्थि कलश मिला और वहाँ पर वो आज यहाँ दिल्ली म्यूजियम में रखा हुआ है। वहाँ एक चावल का कार्बोनाइज्ड फॉर्म मिला, काला नमक राइस, जो भगवान बुद्ध का प्रसाद माना जाता है और वो राइस आज भी वहाँ पर पैदा होता है। और मैं योगी आदित्यनाथ जी को बहुत बहुत साधुवाद देता हूँ, उन्होंने उस राइस को वन डिस्ट्रिक्ट वन प्रोडक्ट में रखा और आज वो एक इंटरनेशनल ब्रांड है, उसको हम एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं। अंग्रेजों ने जब ब्रिटिश काल था तो उन्होंने उस राइस को लंदन को एक्सपोर्ट करते थे और एक रेलवे लाइन बनाया था गोरखपुर से उसका बाजार, जिसका काम था इस राइस को गोरखपुर से वहाँ से कलकत्ता और कलकत्ता से लंदन के मंडियों में जाता था। सभापति महोदय, ये महत्वपूर्ण तीर्थ स्थल है। लुम्बिनी वहाँ से नेपाल साइड में मात्र 12-14 किलोमीटर है। बस्ती से बांसी और फिर कपिलवस्तु, ये लाइन रेलवे डिपार्टमेंट द्वारा पहले से अप्रूव्ड रहा है, पिंक बुक में है, लेकिन वो एवेंस में है। उपसभापति महोदय, एक रेलवे लाइन खलीलाबाद, बांसी और वहाँ से बहराइच जा रहा है, उस पर काम शुरू हो गया है। अब बांसी से कपिलवस्तु मात्र उसके बीच की दूरी 40 किलोमीटर है। मैं आपके माध्यम से रेल मंत्री जी से अनुरोध करना चाहूँगा कि वो जो लाइन खलीलाबाद बांसी होते बहराइच जा रही है, बांसी को जंक्शन बनाया जाए और बांसी जंक्शन से कपिलवस्तु को जोड़ा जाए, जिससे दुनिया भर के जो भगवान बुद्ध के अनुयायी हैं, बुद्धिस्ट हैं, उस तीर्थ स्थल पर जा सकें। उससे उनको सुविधा मिलेगी ही, साथ साथ हमारे पर्यटन को बढ़ावा मिलेगा और वहाँ से जो लुम्बिनी जाने वाले लोग हैं, जो आज वहाँ से एरोप्लेन से भैरवा आते हैं, वहाँ से आते हैं, उनको सीधे सुविधा मिल जाएगी। भगवान बुद्ध की स्थली पर कपिलवस्तु जाएंगे और कपिलवस्तु से सीधे लुम्बिनी चले जाएंगे। इससे हमारा जिला जो सिद्धार्थनगर एक पिछड़ा जिला है, उसमें पर्यटन को बढ़ावा मिलेगा और साथ ही साथ बुद्धिस्ट टूरिस्ट को वहां जाने में सुविधा मिलेगी। थैंक यू सर।
धन्यवाद। माननीय श्री ए रहीम, डिमांड टू एड्रेस द प्लाइट ऑफ इंडियाज गिग वर्कर्स।
थैंक यू सर। सर, as we know that lakhs of Indian youths are working in Swiggy, Zomato, Uber. Sir, I would like to bring the attention in the guest house regarding the plight of the Indian youth which working in the gig economy and the platform economy. Sir, according to the 2022 report by Niti Aayog, there is a projection that gig workers is expected to expand to 2.35 crore workers by 2029 and 30. This means the gig economy will become a major part of the Indian job market, sir. Sir, I would like to draw the attention of this guest house to the unbelievable exploitation faced by platform workers. Sir, companies do not even consider them as workers, denying them from bare minimum wages, sir. Sir, Swiggy, the famous food delivery apps, called them partners. And Rapido, the taxi service app, calls them captains. Sir, we don't want ornamental wage, sir. We want dignified life and dignified salary. Sir, we do not want ornamental wage, sir. Sir, the union government should draft legislation to recognize them as workers and ensure the basic rights. Sir, the stagnant of wage, sir. Sir, workers often face fluctuating and inadequate earnings due to arbitrary algorithms and a lack of transparency in payment structures, sir. Sir, for instance, delivery and driver workers are not adequately compensated for rising fuel costs or inflation as per kilometer charges remaining stagnant, sir. Sir, additional levy from customers. Sir, we all order all food or service, different apps and platforms levy additional charges on customers, such as search fees during the peak hours, rain charges during the bad weather, and late night fees. But sir, these poor workers who toil regardless of rain and shine, day or night, do not receive money collected in their name. Sir, there is no legal mechanism in India to regulate this or ensure fairness, sir, in this regard, sir. Sir, absence of physical presence of the companies. Sir, the absence of a physical office or representative in many states make it difficult to workers to resolve disputes or seek redress for grievance. So I would like to urge upon the government will ensure accountability and provide workers with a physical point to conduct for grievance redressal, sir. Sir, gig workers, especially delivery personnel, face significant occupational hazards, including road accidents and exposure to extreme weather conditions. Yet they are not covered under any proper health or accident insurance scheme.
Thank you, Renji. माननीय श्री आदित्य प्रसाद, डिमांड टू एस्टेब्लिश ए न्यू एम्स हॉस्पिटल इन रांची.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आदरणीय उपसभापति महोदय. माननीय उपसभापति महोदय, मैं सबसे पहले देश के यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री आदि नरेंद्र मोदी जी के प्रति आभार प्रकट करना चाहता हूं कि झारखंड जैसे राज्य में देश आजाद होने के बाद पहली बार राज्य के देवघर में एम्स स्थापना करने का कार्य किया है. साथ ही साथ राज्य के विभिन्न 5 जिलों में नए मेडिकल कॉलेज खोलने का काम किया है. लेकिन महोदय, झारखंड राज्य की राजधानी रांची, जो कि उसके अगल बगल विभिन्न जिले आते हैं, जिसमें बहुत घनी आबादी निवास करती है. साथ ही साथ झारखंड राज्य के सीमावर्ती क्षेत्र बिहार, बंगाल, उड़ीसा, छत्तीसगढ़ जो सीमावर्ती क्षेत्र है, इन राज्यों की भी बहुत बड़ी आबादी इस क्षेत्र में निवास करने का कार्य करती है. और यह क्षेत्र घनघोर जंगल, नदी नाला से आच्छादित क्षेत्र है, जिसे गंभीर बीमारियां होने से गांव के गरीब लोगों को बहुत सारी सुविधा आदरणीय मोदी जी दे रहे हैं. लेकिन बेहतर सुविधा के लिए या तो दिल्ली आना पड़ता है, जो कि दिल्ली आज लोग आ नहीं सकते, जिससे काफी कठिनाइयों का सामना करना पड़ता है. देवघर जाते हैं लोग, वहां भी दूरी होने के कारण चाईबासा जैसे सुदूर सिमडेगा, लोहरदगा, गुमला जैसे, लातेहार जैसे जिले के लोग नहीं जा पाते हैं. इसलिए आदरणीय उपसभापति महोदय, आपसे मेरा आग्रह है कि रांची जैसे राजधानी में एक नए एम्स का स्थापना करने का कार्य किया जाए, जिसे वहां के शोषित, वंचित, गरीब क्षेत्र में आदिवासी, पिछड़े, दलित, साथ ही साथ अन्य समाज के लोग बड़ी संख्या में रहते हैं. इन लोगों को स्वास्थ्य बेहतर सुविधा देने के लिए रांची जैसे राजधानी शहर में एक नया स्थापना एम्स का किया जाए, यही मेरा आग्रह है. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद.
धन्यवाद. माननीय श्री सुभाषीष खूंटिया, डिमांड टू रीनेम पुरी रेलवे स्टेशन एज श्री जगन्नाथ धाम पुरी रेलवे स्टेशन.
जय जगन्नाथ. जय जगन्नाथ. थैंक यू डेप्यूटी चेयरमैन सर for giving me the opportunity to draw your kind attention for renaming of Puri railway station as Sri Jagannath Dham Puri railway station. Sir, Puri is known for Mahaprabhu Lord Sri Jagannath, and it is one of the 4 dham as a holy place of pilgrimage and spirituality, as well as international tourist hub. Sri Jagannath Dham Puri is not only famous in India but across the globe also, sir. Lord Sri Jagannath is the cornerstone of Odisha's cultural identity. The influence reverberates through Odia art, music, culture and literature. The reverence for the Lord is woven into the very fabric of Odisha. Puri is also a tourist destination where lakhs of people comes to Puri every day for holidaying. UNESCO heritage site Konark Sun Temple, which is 35 kilometers from Puri, and Asia's biggest Chilka Lake is 50 kilometers away, are also the major tourist hub of international attraction. This renaming is aimed at strengthening the cultural and religious connection associated with Puri, also enhancing the visibility of the city's spiritual importance on the national and international stage. The move aligns with the Government of India's efforts to preserve and promote the rich traditions and legacy of ancient India temples and pilgrimage centers. Your noble effort would be a great reverence to the Lord and will enhance the pilgrimage experience for devotees visiting Puri and contribute to the further growth of spiritual tourism in Odisha. Jai Jagannath, Bande Utkal Janani.
धन्यवाद. माननीय श्री मोहम्मद नदीमुल हक demand to eliminate GST on life and health insurance products to make it more affordable.
Thank you, sir. Sir, the insurance penetration in India is just 4%. Globally, this number is at 7%. This government has a habit of penalizing our country's middle class in every way possible. 18% GST on life and health insurance is another way of burdening the common man. Sir, let me tell you the chronology. First, my party, the All India Trinamool Congress, raised this matter in Parliament. Even our Honorable Chief Minister of West Bengal, Mamata Banerjee, wrote a letter to you. This was followed by a letter from your Union Minister to your Finance Minister, who raised it directly with her. Yet no change. Soon, one by one, every opposition party joined the call, demanding to scrap the GST on life and health insurance. Instead of addressing these concerns, what did you do? Shift the onus on the GST Council. Sir, the sad reality is that the Union government holds 1/3 of the votes while the states have 2/3. However, the NDA has 21 state governments under them. Then what's stopping you? Why don't you remove the GST? Now you'll say it's the group of ministers. The group of ministers had initially recommended exempting the premium on health insurance for senior citizens and term life insurance. We ask you again, why do you like to neglect the middle class? You boast of income tax being exempted to 12 lakhs for the middle class. If you genuinely care, then remove the GST. Sir, the truth is they don't understand healthcare. We all saw what happened in COVID. Sir, I ask this government to stop penalizing the middle class and give us an assurance to scrap the GST on health and life insurance.
Thank you. माननीय श्री संजय सिंह demand to strengthen overall system for rehabilitation of victims of acid attacks in India.
अत्यंत गंभीर विषय पे मुझे अपनी बात कहने का मौका दिया। मान्यवर, आज इस सदन में मैं सदन के सदस्यों से और आपसे प्रार्थना करने के लिए खड़ा हुआ हूं, उन एसिड विक्टिम्स की तरफ से जो जिंदगी में हर दिन मरती। मान्यवर, वो एसिड विक्टिम्स जिनके बारे में एनसीआरबी का डेटा है, वर्ष 2014 से लगभग हर साल 200 महिलाओं के ऊपर एसिड विक्टिम्स की वो शिकार होती हैं। 80% इसमें महिलाएं होती हैं, जिसमें 30% नाबालिग बच्चियां होती हैं। मान्यवर, और इनके दर्द को जानने का मौका मिला। ब्रेव सोल फाउंडेशन है सर, दिल्ली में काम करती है वो संस्था। उस संस्था के एक कार्यक्रम में मैं गया था। मान्यवर, वहां जो बच्चियां हैं उनको आप देखेंगे तो आपको आंखों से आंसू आ जाएगा। और न्याय मिलने में इतना समय, इतना विलंब। शाहीन मलिक एक बच्ची है वहां पे। मान्यवर, एक महिला है, 16 साल से न्याय की आस में भटक रही है। उसको न्याय नहीं मिला, उसका चेहरा पूरा बिगड़ गया, एक आंख चली गई है। एक अनुपमा और मोहिता बच्ची थी सिवान की, 14 साल की बच्ची, उसके ऊपर एसिड अटैक हुआ। 20 साल के बाद उसको न्याय मिला, जब उनकी मृत्यु हो चुकी थी। वो दुनिया में नहीं थी। मान्यवर, इसके संबंध में सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने 10 अप्रैल 2015 को एक आदेश जारी किया कि प्राइवेट हॉस्पिटल हो या सरकारी अस्पताल, दोनों जगहों पे इनका पूरी तरीके से फ्री इलाज होना चाहिए। मैं सरकार से अनुरोध करूंगा, हाथ जोड़कर विनती करूंगा, उनके फ्री इलाज की व्यवस्था की जाए। इनको मुआवजे के नाम पे मात्र 5 लाख रुपए मिलता है। कम से कम इनके इलाज के लिए 50 लाख रुपए का इंतजाम किया जाए। मान्यवर, आप हैरान होंगे, 45 सर्जरी दीपमाला नाम की बच्ची की हुई, 44 बार सर्जरी शाहीन मलिक की हुई। वो रीमा 7 साल से न्याय के लिए भटक रही, नीरजा 15 साल से न्याय के लिए भटक रही है। इन लोगों को कोई नौकरी पर भी नहीं रखता मान्यवर। इनके लिए सरकारी नौकरी ऐसे इंतजाम की जाए जहां पे वो अपनी नौकरी कर सके। ये बच्चियां सर जब रोज सुबह उठती हैं, ये अपने चेहरे को देखती हैं, इनको रोज मरना पड़ता है। आज मैं आपके माध्यम से इस सरकार से निवेदन करता हूं, एसिड विक्टिम्स के लिए फास्ट ट्रैक कोर्ट बनाई जाए। 20-20 साल तक इन बच्चियों को न्याय के लिए भटकना पड़ता है, इनके लिए फास्ट ट्रैक कोर्ट देश के अंदर बनाई जाए। जो CSR फंड है, उस CSR फंड को निर्धारित किया जाए इन बच्चियों के कल्याण के लिए, उनके रोजगार के लिए, उनके इलाज के लिए। मैं आपके माध्यम से अनुरोध करना चाहता हूं इस सरकार से कि 2014 के बाद से लेकर अब तक के जितने केसेस हुए हैं, उसके पहले के भी जितने केसेस हुए हैं, उसकी समीक्षा के लिए एक केंद्रीय समिति बना के उनकी मदद और इलाज कर।
माननीय श्रीमती सागरिका घोष, नीड फॉर रोबस्ट ब्लड ट्रांसफ्यूजन लॉज फॉर दोज बैटलिंग थैलेसीमिया एंड सिकल सेल एनीमिया।
Thank you, sir. Sir, the country faces serious shortages in the supply of healthy, uninfected blood. Many are in danger of serious health risks of contracting diseases from infected blood through blood transfusions. Blood banks are under enormous pressure and often fall short of healthy blood. The country requires 14.6 million units of blood annually, yet faces a shortfall of around 7 million units each year. This is extremely worrying, as countless lives, particularly those infected with sickle cell anemia and thalassemia, depend on access to safe, uninfected blood. There have been reports of shortages of the life-saving drug for thalassemics, Desferal. India has 150,000 individuals diagnosed with thalassemia major who depend on regular blood transfusion for their very survival. Blood transfusion services are fragmented and contain many inefficiencies. Those who are fortunate enough to receive transfusions sometimes contract HIV. Sir, there is a notable and growing reluctance in India for citizens to donate blood. It is vital to spread awareness and to educate people on the benefits of blood donation. If we donate blood, we become healthier. The donor's health can improve after blood donation by the stimulation of new blood cell production and maintenance of healthy levels of iron. Sir, by way of parenthesis, I can say that the device of 0 hour allows us to raise these urgent people's issues. We also have the device of Rule 176, sir, which can allow us to raise the vital issue of voters' rights and the duplicate epic card. Sir, I just want to say, please allow 176 also, sir.
There is no
sir,
nothing. When you speak on the subject, that will only go. No.
Want to
Dr. Anil Sukhdev
sir, I want to...
Please speak on the subject, Sagarika ji, you know. If you speak on the subject, that will go on the record. Otherwise, no.
Yes, sir. Sir, I want to request the government, through you, I want to request the government on the urgent need for a comprehensive new national blood law that emphasizes voluntary blood donation and implements stringent blood screening protocols, including the NAT. This will significantly reduce the risk of contracting HIV and hepatitis through infected transfusions of blood. Unless this is done, those requiring blood transfusions will continue to face life-threatening risks. So a stark example of this was when 23 children contracted HIV because they were given infected blood through blood transfusions. Access to safe blood is a cornerstone of modern healthcare, playing an essential role in the care and survival of countless citizens.
Thank you. Dr. Anil Sukhdev Rai Bonde.
धन्यवाद सभापति महोदय.
Demand for policy to promote ethanol production from mahua flowers.
धन्यवाद सभापति महोदय. महुआ फूलों से इथेनॉल उत्पादन के लिए प्रोत्साहन और नीति की विनती मैं आपके माध्यम से कर रहा हूं. महुआ का भारत भर में पाया जाने वाला मूल्यवान पेड़ है विशेष रूप से मध्य प्रदेश, महाराष्ट्र, छत्तीसगढ़ आदिवासी क्षेत्रों में ये पेड़ होता है। महुआ के फूल में किण्वनीय शर्करा भरपूर होती है, जिससे बायोइथेनॉल उत्पादन के लिए उत्कृष्ट कच्चा माल बनता है। भारत के कृषि और औद्योगिक परिदृश्य को देख के इथेनॉल उत्पादन के लिए महुआ फूलों का उपयोग आर्थिक और पर्यावरणीय ऊर्जा लाभ प्रदान कर सकती है। महुआ से इथेनॉल से ग्रामीण अर्थव्यवस्था को बढ़ावा मिलेगा। गन्ना इथेनॉल पर निर्भरता कम होगी, पर्यावरण के अनुकूल ऊर्जा स्रोत होगा।
क्वेश्चन नंबर